Hello folks, my name's James Conrad and I'm this goofy looking guy down in the lower left. Here we're going to be taking a look at Microsoft System Center Configuration Manager 2012 R2. This is going to align with the 70-243 exam objectives from Microsoft and also include a lot of real-world application. Here we're going to take a look at a list of objectives and topics that we're going to address in this series. First of all, the Configuration Manager just as an overview. It's a very deep product, so you have to know how to get to various pieces within the product. We'll look at that. We'll also look at how to install Configuration Manager. There's a lot involved in doing that. For example, you have to have SQL Server. That itself is a big topic all on its own, and I'll show you how to do that, as well as how to get around and work with all of the prerequisites that Configuration Manager needs. We'll move on to the boundaries that you need to set up for Configuration Manager as well, such as which sites or subnets you work with. We'll also discover resources, and then after we've discovered appropriate resources, you can create collections. This is where a lot of the power of Configuration Manager starts to come into play, because once you have a collection, you can start to do things like deploy software to it. We also take a look at Configuration Manager clients, which is very important because the client is a piece that is on your client computers, and it communicates with Configuration Manager and receives instructions, such as what kind of baselines need to be there, what kind of software to download, or updates. We'll take a look at the inventory of your computers. It's important to know what files are there. You also need to know what kind of hardware is there, so you can know, for example, whether it's capable of accepting a software package that you want to deploy. We'll take a look at SQL queries as well. That might look like it's kind of its own topic, and it sort of is. I mean, after all, it's SQL, but the better you are at SQL queries, the better you're going to be at Configuration Manager, because it depends upon SQL queries for much of the work that you'll be doing. And then as we continue on here, we're also going to be working with software metering. It's important to know how much your users are actually using software, because if they're not using it, you might be able to give up a license, for example, and save some money. We'll also take a look at software deployment, because, of course, you need to deploy the software appropriately. And software deployment, as well as the next couple of topics that you see in the list here, are very big pieces for why people even buy Configuration Manager, because it gives us a great deal of capability and granular power in all of these topics. Operating system deployment is another one there. Very useful, again, because we can do it pretty much hands-free. You can deploy software to a client without ever having to visit that machine if you want that level of control. You can also determine which updates to apply to computers. This goes way beyond just WSUS, which is what a lot of organizations use. We can get, again, a higher level of control there. And we can also work with mobile devices. Mobile devices in today's environment is kind of the runaway train, because everyone's bringing their own devices and we have no control over them whatsoever. So with mobile devices and Configuration Manager, you have a lot more control there. And then also there's site communications. It's very important to allow your Configuration Manager servers to communicate with one another, to replicate database information, as well as various types of files, for example. We'll take a look at how to control that. And then as we start to drift off the page here, we'll look at role-based security as well, as we slip off the end. Some of you are saying, it's about time we got rid of that guy. Anyway, we'll look at role-based security so that you can determine which administrators have capabilities to work with various pieces of Configuration Manager. Well, this is a very fun series, by the way. I got to tell you, I've had a lot of fun recording it. You're going to really enjoy it, I'm quite sure. So let's go ahead and get started with our first nugget.